Hello everyone! Today we're going to take a look at 1937's It's Love I'm After, because it's a good movie and I feel like not that many people know about it. It's Love I'm After, directed by Archie Mayo, stars Leslie Howard and Bette Davis as a pair of stage actors in a love-hate relationship. They relentlessly needle each other and argue all the time, with brief periods of loving peace in between. Howard's Basil Underwood is a conceited, hammy actor with a wandering eye whose tendency to flirt with the ladies who worship him repeatedly gets him in trouble. And Davis's Joyce Arden is his leading lady who for years has been his on-again, off-again fiancé, but has had just about enough of his nonsense. Enter Olivia de Havilland as Marcia, an infatuated fan, and Patrick Knowles as Henry, her frustrated fiancé. Henry wants to get his girl back and presents Basil with a scheme. Dally with her for the weekend, but be such a jerk that she falls out of love with Basil and returns to him. Basil thinks this benevolent deed will be just the thing to redeem him in Joyce's eyes, so he goes along with it. But of course the plan does not turn out as intended. I saw this movie once years ago and really enjoyed it. It's a fun, slightly outrageous comedy. It's kind of frothy, nothing too serious happens, but it's energetic and refreshingly self-aware. Here we have actors being actors, playfully mocking the image of the renowned, superior thespian and carrying their overwrought performance style into real life, where it is a very odd fit. In certain ways, Leslie Howard is playing an exaggerated version of himself. The film starts with a performance of the tragic final scene from Romeo and Juliet, only instead of a tragedy, we have Basil and Joyce making sotto voce snipes at each other. Oh! Howard, who had a successful theatrical career, including lead performances in Shakespeare plays, had just starred as Romeo opposite Norma Shearer's Juliet in the film adaptation in 1936, 1 year earlier. Howard also had a reputation for being a bit of a womanizer, and by some accounts he was a bit of a rascal. This is really his film, and he seems to relish the opportunity to parody first the praise-hungry, hammy actor, and later the entitled, demanding celebrity. I, for one, like Leslie Howard better in comedy than in drama. I often find his dramatic performances stiff, bland, and unappealing. That might be because of the kinds of characters he was given. Something like this, though, gives him the opportunity to be more loose, more realistic, and therefore more likable. I think he does comedy quite well, and the same thing goes for his co-stars, Bette Davis and Olivia de Havilland. Neither one is known for being a comedic actress at all. They are considered dramatic actresses, but when they did do comedy, I think they were good at it. All these actors appeared together in other films. This was the third and final pairing for Davis and Howard, who previously co-starred in 1934's Of Human Bondage and 1936's The Petrified Forest, also directed by Archie Mayo. Those last two were Warner Brothers pictures. Davis and de Havilland were both Warner Brothers contract players, both of them famously unhappy. Davis sued them in 1937 and lost. De Havilland sued them in 1943 and won. Following this film, Davis and de Havilland, who became friends, appeared together in 1939's The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex, 1942's In This Our Life, and 1964's Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte, de Havilland replacing Joan Crawford at Bette Davis's request. And of course, Leslie Howard and Olivia de Havilland are probably most known for appearing together in 1939's Gone with the Wind as Ashley and Melanie Wilkes. There's a great little bit in this movie which, thanks to Gone with the Wind, has taken on additional humorous significance. Eric Blore plays Basil's loyal and long-suffering dresser and manservant, who is as familiar with the plays Basil's performed as Basil himself, maybe more familiar, since he's often better at remembering lines and cues. Blore was a comic character actor who frequently appeared in the 30s and 40s as domestic servants who have to deal with the excesses and whims of batty employers. He's featured heavily here and gets a few of his own running gags. The film also features Spring Byington as Marcia's aunt, who's a little enamored with Basil herself, Bonita Granville as the annoying kid at the house party who listens at keyholes, and George Barbier as Marcia's bewildered father, who frequently complains that everyone's keeping him in the dark. The movie's kind of a crazy romp, and it fits well in the era of the screwball comedy. There are entanglements and double crosses, and best intentions go awry. Basil and Joyce are the leads, but the character of Marcia is the driving force. She's bubbly, enthusiastic, impulsive, and exploding with energy. Nauseatingly romantic, too, and more besotted with Basil than anyone realized. No matter what they do, they can't put her off. It's not altogether unexpected, though, that she would react the way she does. This is the fangirl who's avidly watched all of Basil's performances and worshipped him from the balcony, never mind that she's got a fiancé right next to her, until one night she must get into his dressing room and tell him she loves him. Not that she expects anything from it, she just needs to let him know. Honestly, I don't really understand people who do this, who say to someone that they have never really met before, "You don't know me, and probably nothing's going to come of this, but I kind of wish that something would, and maybe you'll find this kind of crazy, or maybe even kind of creepy, but I just wanted to let you know that you're wonderful, and you're perfect, and I love you." If you're ever inclined to say something, or write something like that, let me give you my 2 cents. Don't. For one thing, that person, whether it's an actor or a celebrity or a social media influencer or a YouTuber who you adore and idolize, you don't actually know them. You know what they have made public, which is not really them, and so you should take that into account. But also, while you might think that what you're saying is complimentary and harmless and will make the person feel good, more than likely it's going to make them uncomfortable. I say spare yourself and the object of your affection, to whom you are a complete stranger, the embarrassment. Basil, however, because he's a pompous, self-absorbed cad with an inflated ego, is flattered up the wazoo by her declaration, even though he thinks she's a little loony. Fortunately, everybody grows by the end of the movie, and Basil, along with everyone else, obtains some humility and self-awareness.
I realize that men in my position live by the flutters they raise in the hearts of silly little girls who fall in love with the parts we play. And we lap up the adulation. We don't stop to think that we might be making a mess of some perfectly happy lives.
As much as this is not a hard-hitting motion picture, there is something to that. This kind of thing does happen, where people get so obsessed with an actor or a musician or a public figure or even a fictional character that they ignore or lose interest in the real person standing right there because that person doesn't measure up to their impossibly high romantic ideals. But it's the real person that you can have an actual relationship with, not the image on a screen or on a stage who, by the way, has a responsibility, a financial responsibility often, to pull in an audience and make them want to see more. It behooves them to seem perfect. It's in their best interests to seem like a wonderful, super friendly person. If they just acted miserable or they did a bad job at what they're doing all the time, then nobody would pay them any attention, then they'd lose their audience. So yeah, of course they're gonna do their best to put their best face forward. There's a lot more to the person than that, though. And ultimately, that's the more serious message of the film. Don't chase some unrealistic ideal of love. Adolescent infatuations are one thing, that's a normal part of growing up. but so is coming to understand the difference between a crush and real love. Bottom line, find someone who's best suited to you, who knows you well, warts and all, and loves you anyway. Don't look for someone who's going to make you feel good for a while by praising and worshipping you. And don't waste time obsessing over someone you don't really know, who's basically just a fantasy. There's no satisfaction in either scenario. I didn't think I'd get a big picture application out of this one, but there you go. I hope you liked this video. I encourage you to check out It's Love I'm After if you can. It's a very enjoyable movie. On the surface level, it's a lot of fun, and then if you want to, you can get a couple more kernels of wisdom out of it. And if you have seen it already, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. I look forward to hearing what everybody has to say, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.